It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Hey, it's that time for your weekly cup of coffee. And Uncle Chris, did I see snow on the ground?
Yeah, baby, snow and ice in some places. It's winter wonderland.
It's winter time, baby. And on this week's show, we're going to give you an update on the Brandon Wisdom case. Remember, just 2 months ago, our community was in outrage over his release. Lodging tax. Does the Lake of the Ozarks need a lodging tax? Plus, remember, we've been following the Oasis Amusement Park project. We heard Jeff Tegethoff involved in the private casino with the Pruitt family. And what about those 33 acres that John Q. Hammonds once owned and planned to bring a crazy resort to the lake? Well, instead of telling you about it, I decided to bring Jeff Tegethoff. We've got him on this week's show after this from Slumberland at the lake.
Cyber Week at Slumberland is here. Up to 60% off list. Incredible deals like an Ashley Midnight Madness sectional for $8.49. Plus a best-selling Lazy Boy recliner for just $3.99. Or an Ashley Chime Peak mattress for just $197. Deals so big, prices so low, all week long. Plus, no interest till 2029 on qualifying purchases. Get these deals while they last. It's Cyber Week, only at Slumberland Furniture.
Heck yeah. And as promised, the most popular man at Lake of the Ozarks anymore, it's Jeff Tegethoff. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, I am glad you were able to do this with your schedule. I know you guys got a lot going on, but I was going to ask you what's going on, because the last month plus, I mean, we'd talk about you, I've had you on before, covering Oasis, ongoing the last couple of years. But man, the last couple of months, Jeff Tegethoff, that name is everywhere. So I want to start kind of with the overall latest status of what everyone's talking about, the Oasis Amusement Park, because we've got some good news. Lake Expo's article on November 13th talked about 10 months from today, and I'm excited to learn where it's at and what's happening.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Yeah, it's been a long year for us. And what I did with the Lake Expo story with Nathan, go back in time, we're probably 16 months behind our original schedule. That original schedule was ambitious, but it was hindered primarily by the acquisition of the timeshares. Amazing that 2 or so acres of the 25-acre site, so much of the utilities run through there, and then just the legal side of getting it, getting the title to us. We were supposed to close in December of 23 with clean title. Yeah. We finally closed in October of 24. I didn't get clean title until April of 25. We were able to close our loan in June of 25, a $285 million loan. We were able to then start the bond sale, which we did and completed that in early November. So we had a couple weeks ago, had all the subcontractors back down to restart. And it's hard because since we didn't have great clarity on when we could pay them going forward and have the money in the bank for the rest of the project, it's hard for them to commit manpower to our site. They're moving people all over the country, a lot of these contractors. But we got that clarity now. Cold grading is on site. Yesterday, they started back full. There's a concrete contractor coming in to finish the ride footings and foundations, and they'll be on site this week. We had re-kickoff meetings with Ameren this week on working on the duct bank and the power when we have permanent power. But yeah, we're excited. Right now, we are 10 months out on the amusement park, 24 months on the water park and hotel.
Yeah, so we put a September 2026 for the first phase. And you're working, of course, with Brinkman, the general contractor, and you talk about them being on site this week. So what's the timeline like for this winter? As I know it's tougher when it's cold. You're going to have, as we just saw, snow. So what's timeline looking like to get stuff moved forward and start looking differently over the winter?
It'll be fully mobilized by next week. The snow and cold weather won't slow down the work that needs to be done right now. I mean, the heavy equipment that you see on the site and dynamite and things like that, we'll use additives in the concrete that make it a non-issue to finish that up. We're nearly complete we were nearly complete at the end of last year with the footings and foundations for all the rides. And you'll also see up there, like where our main restaurant area and arcade is going, all the underground utilities even are stubbed up for that space. And that's been done for 10 or 11 months. We've really, so we've been ready for that. We've taken delivery of all of the rides now. We have them from Eldon to the lake and multiple locations around the lake. We've unpacked, I think, around 50 or 60 containers and sent them back. And we got, over 100 containers scattered around different
can you
sites.
tell us like what are in these containers? I've seen the Ferris wheel gondolas.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. You mentioned a slingshot.
Yeah.
So what other rides and attractions are we going to see at the amusement park?
So we have, obviously anchored by the 200-foot tall wheel. We have 2 coasters. These are steel coasters made by a company called Vekoma. Vekoma is a marquee roller coaster company. They built recently Tron and Guardians of the Galaxy for Disney.
Wow.
They are building our 2 coasters. One of them's a suspended coaster, meaning you kind of sit in a little seat and it goes around you and your legs dangled. The other one's what's called a
You make it sound so safe and not frightening. It sounds like these might be some
it goes
serious
underground.
thrills.
You can see on site we have the tunnel. It goes underground and comes back up. So we have 2 of those. We got rides from grandchildren to grandparents. We got a double-decker carousel. We got kids rides. We got, the classic Buccaneer pirate ship that we've made actually into looking like a power boat. We took the CAD drawings from a 42-foot Fountain Lightning and had them the best they could make that.
Is that like the swing that goes back and forth?
It is. So we've made that to look like a powerboat as much
cool.
as we can, as opposed to a Buccaneer. That's an intense ride. We have the slingshot, which are the 2 arms you see up there right now. That launches you on a cable system over 300
people think
feet
that's
in the
the Ferris wheel. That's not the Ferris wheel,
That's
right?
the slingshot. That is a ride that is a crazy ride. But we have some other really intense thrill rides and some classic rides, kids rides. There's 12 total rides in the ride package.
So 12 rides at the amusement park. What else will we see? I know restaurants. Do you guys have?
You got a 6,500 square foot arcade. This is like a modern day cool arcade that adults love, kids love. I think there's going to be duck pin bowling inside that arcade as well. But that's one of those arcades that you see around in other locations.
Like a Dave and Buster's or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's for kids, and they have one down at Big Cedar. I think they call it Fun Mountain type of arcade. We have 2 restaurants that, we have our concessions, and then we have 2 restaurants operated by the Pietosa family out of St. Louis that have the Napoli family of restaurants. They're doing one. I think it's going to be Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, and then they're going to do a seafood-focused kind of raw bar and wine bar concept as well. And then, that water park is just incredible. There's a 70-foot tower inside of that water park that has 12 slides coming off the slide tower. It's not a water park where you'll get sick of it in 30 minutes. Yeah. And it's not, we wanted it to be really for kind of the 8-year-old and up market.
Sure.
There's a kids area, where maybe the 2 to 8-year-olds, but the 8-year-old to adult are going to have a thrilling time in the water.
So the important thing is, though, you've gotten to this point and the project is a go.
Yeah.
And now you say that the biggest hurdles are out of the way. So for you, I know this has been a long journey. I haven't always been the easiest on you. I've asked some tough questions. But as a developer, it was your job to get the best deal. And in the process, you did a great job in keeping your communication with us open. And so now that you have and you've gotten to this point, what's that like for you?
It's great. 99% of my sleepless nights are past me. I knew this project was complex. I knew it was unique, and it was like nothing I've ever done, not to mention just the sheer size of it. The governor recently told me this is the single largest investment into tourism in the history of the state of Missouri.
Wow.
At nearly $500 million. That's more than it cost to build Busch Stadium when they built it. Wow. And, the impact that we're going to have, not just at the lake area, but for the whole state of Missouri is really remarkable. And, for me, I don't stay real emotionally attached to projects, but I stay very, very connected to my overall vision, which is to create long-term, year-round career opportunities for people in and around the lake area. And that means ultimately providing housing options, providing job options. We're just really proud of what we've been able to accomplish to this point. Obviously, the best is yet to come.
I want to kind of jump in. I mean, besides this, you mentioned housing. There's other projects you're involved with. I kind of want to touch on the property off Passover.
Yeah.
It's 33 acres. As you guys remember, that was like the John Q. Hammond's property that was going to be that massive, massive resort. And your team apparently had closed on that property. Plus, you've got the preserve at Sycamore Creek.
Yeah.
So tell me about those two projects.
Well, we're under contract on the Passover property. We haven't closed yet. It's 37 acres. We are doing another 180 key branded hotel. It'll be a Marriott Residence Inn. That'll be kind of built like a lodge, and we're going to have an outdoor adventure park there. We'll have zip lines, ropes course, a big slide area. We'll have a beer garden. We'll have a really neat place. We'll be running a water taxi back and forth from that property to the Oasis site. And we'll probably look to kind of start construction on that this summer.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, just another great additive. I mean, we continue to believe that the market's way underserved on branded hotel keys at the lake. We believe there's an opportunity to continue to grow from the 3 million visitors a year-ish to 3.5 or 4 million. And that's not necessarily by adding more people on the water. It's about creating activities and entertainment off the water for people year round. Sycamore Creek's going great. I live there when I'm down here at the lake. We have about 100 units leased of the 268. And again, from people in their early 20s to retirees in their 80s. And
So still availability.
there is still availability, and we're just delighted with how that product turned
So
out.
as you can see, there's so much you're involved with now. We don't have a lot of time, but before we go, I want to find out. Private casino at Lake of the Ozarks. We find out you're working with the Pruitt family and Andy Pruitt. So how did this come to fruition?
Gary's been one of my greatest encouragers and supporters down here going back 5 years or so ago. He like cold called me when I started the project off at Nichols Road, just offered to help in any way. And he's consistently reached out to me, if not weekly, a couple times a month to just offer encouragement, offer his help in any way. And we've kept a good relationship over the last 5 years. We share a common vision in that we want to expand the opportunities at the Lake of the Ozarks. And I think, I think gaming's on the horizon, whether we want it, like it or not. And I think getting a privately owned Missouri Gaming Commission regulated facility that pays full taxes is going to be important down here.
Can you guys be successful? I mean, this time around?
Oh yeah, I think so. We've already submitted ballot language. We're collecting signatures. I think with the approval of sports betting, I think it's becoming more normalized.
And as Andy said, talking to Andy Pruitt, he says you guys don't have Bally's involvement. You also don't have some of the campaigning against the initiative. But I was surprised, and I was like, there's nowhere, if there's not big things happening, that you don't see your name attached to. Before we go, I know we ran over a little bit, but I just want to find out. A lot of people have opinions. A lot of people on the outside have things to say. But for those watching, what do you want Lake of the Ozarks and this community to know about Jeff Tegethoff?
Yeah, I said this 5 or 6 years ago, when we started the project at Sycamore Creek, that we're going to be in this community for a long time. You will continue to hear our name because we're continuing to look for catalytic developments that we can then affect the long-term economic activity of the lake area for the next generation. And so whether it's projects like the first apartment project, whether it's things like Oasis or the Passover site, or whether it's working with the Pruitts on the private casino, we'll continue to do catalytic projects like that can hopefully encourage growth and create opportunities for people in this area. At the end of the day, my wife and I are Missourians. We love the state of Missouri, and we want to do our little part to continue to position Missouri, the tourism from Missouri and the Lake of the Ozarks, we believe is the greatest tourism asset in the state. I think it's the greatest body of water in the world. And we just want to be do our little part of it. But yeah, I mean, something that people.
Awesome.
I don't know,
Well, Jeff,
that's it.
I certainly appreciate your time and letting us follow. You know us. We'll certainly continue to
we
send
would
questions and follow the progress
We would love to.
of all of these developments. But again, thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thanks for
Jeff
having me.
Tegethoff. We'll be right back on Cup of Coffee after this.
The lake has it all, even this time of year. Some incredible events.
The scenic outdoors, there's so much to see.
But listen, there have been an average of 6 fatal crashes in Missouri per month from distracted driving this year.
That's where you come in. Always remember to buckle up and put your phones down. Your eyes belong on the road. This reminder to drive safe, boat safe, brought to you by Price & Randall Injury Attorneys.
All right, so as we welcome you back, yes, remember to drive safe and boat safe. As you see, the weather gets bad, the roads get filled with ice and snow, and everybody forgets how to drive.
You know, it was crazy when this snowstorm hit on Monday morning, and you know before it started to snow, everything was great, everything was fine, and then in the first 15 minutes after it started to snow, roads were going to crap and ice and backups and wrecks and everything. It was nuts.
Yeah, I'll give grace this time around, right? This kind of snuck up on us. Even some local school districts in the area, even some up in St. Louis, Kansas City, they said they were caught off guard by this. But look, the roads are cleared. The crews here around the lake area, MoDOT, did a wonderful job. And I want to give a thank you to Jeff Tegethoff for joining us. Man, there's a lot going on. That guy stays busy, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. He's got his hand in just about everything going on at the lake now. Everything big anyway. I mean, we're talking the Oasis theme park. We're talking the casino project. We're talking the John Q. Hammond's land that he's planning on doing. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like one of those projects and developments would be enough to keep you, busy, wired, and anxious. No, you got those going on. And so I appreciate his time, and we'll continue to let you guys hear from him directly, as his time allows. Would love to bring him on because, as he just said, like the Oasis Amusement Park, they're going to be moving.
Yeah, it's working. And he said 10 months from now. So that means it's not going to be early next year. It's going to be late next year. That would make it what? September, yeah. Toward the end of summer, early fall before they get that done. So not perfect timing for them on getting that finished, but at least they're making progress and they're going to get it done.
And moving forward, like the worst case scenario would be if you couldn't get a hold of them, you hadn't heard from anybody, the contractors were outraged and there had been no movement. And that's what a lot of people predicted, right, was going to happen with this site. So it's refreshing and great to see that the Oasis Amusement Park is moving forward, and we'll keep you posted on the private casino because they have a lot of signatures they need to be gathering, and we'll keep you posted more in 26 on that because they're looking to get that on the ballot, in November of 2026.
Because they've got to amend the Missouri state constitution in order to get that extra casino on the water. So that's what they're working toward. And as he alluded to, the last time they were defeated on this, but that one of the main reasons is because other casinos were putting money up against them, and this time they're not. So I'm guessing they've got a really good shot to get that through this time.
And of course, we'll have more of the casino coverage. That's not going away. If you're interested in seeing our previous coverage the last couple of weeks, including in October, we did a breakdown on the difference between the private casino being proposed as well as the Osage Nation Indian Casino. But hey, in other local news, you'll remember in early October, Brandon Wisdom, it was actually the end of September, Brandon Wisdom was released on child sex crime charges. They were dropped. The community was outraged. Well, community members blamed the Camden County prosecutor, Rochelle Grosvenor, for botching the case, and the prosecutor went public and called out the Camden County Sheriff's Department and said their evidence and their process was why this case was not able to be prosecuted and Wisdom was a free man. Well, the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Chris Edgar and Chief Deputy Scott Hines, you'll remember they responded saying that there were prosecutable charges and they would not stop pursuing justice for the victim. All the while, Brandon Wisdom was free. Well, 2 months later, I'm curious, with 2 counts of child molestation and 1 count of sexual misconduct being dismissed, what exactly is the latest on the Brandon Wisdom case? Well, I reached out to the prosecutor's office, Rochelle Grosvenor Christensen. I also reached out to the Camden County Sheriff, Chris Edgar. Didn't hear back from the Sheriff's Office and Chris Edgar after a couple attempts at time of recording. However, I reached out to prosecutor, as I said, Rochelle Grosvenor, and she said, I would love to move forward on this case and prosecute Brandon Wisdom. As I've said previously, my office has exercised every single outlet and option to do that. However, I'd love to hear from the sheriff's office as to where their filing is and how we can see this case move forward on, as they promised. So my understanding is it doesn't look like there's been any movement on the Brandon Wisdom case. Of course, I've reached out to Camden County Sheriff Chris Edgar and see if there is still a possibility this case could be tried. Of course, that was such a big topic there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the whole problem with this wasn't in the prosecutor's office. It was apparently with the way some of the things were handled in the sheriff's, how the evidence was handled in the sheriff's department, and they lost the train of command on all of that, so it couldn't be used as evidence against him. So they got to figure that out in the sheriff's department and get that straightened out.
Yeah, and of course they allege that wasn't the case and that there were still charges. Their initial filing had nothing to do with the cell phone or the evidence in question. And so if that's true, I imagine they'll be able to file this case again, and that's what we're waiting to see, will they?
And all this happened with the previous sheriff, not the current sheriff, not Chris Edgar, but the previous sheriff that was there before. All of that happened during that. So some people are coming down hard on Sheriff Edgar, and it wasn't his team that screwed it up. So
at this point, though, someone's not being honest. I mean, between the two of them, it would be interesting to see how this shakes out. But there is people wanting answers. What is the latest on the Brandon Wisdom case? Yeah. All right, so we also teased a couple of weeks ago the lodging tax, right? It went away. So in June of 24, the Missouri Supreme Court ruled the existing TCLA lodging tax was unconstitutional, striking down the state statute that allows the lotto business districts to exist and ordered an immediate halt to any further collecting of lodging taxes. Now, the lodging tax in the lake was started in 1993, and it was added to the bill of visitors who stayed in any transient guest lodging accommodation. Yeah. Then they remitted that to the business districts. The taxes had been earmarked per state statute for the advertising and promotion of tourism at Lake of the Ozarks. And if you're curious, how much was that? Well, in 2024, the TCLA budget was $1.9 million. Well, it all got rocky in 2019. You'll remember they proposed a tax increase in all three counties to 6%, which was the maximum they could. The vote failed miserably, only 1,600 yes votes, 4,700 no votes. And of course, this was an effort to build a soccer complex. Well, at the following of that election, Laura Solomon and Gail Griswold sued the TCLA and the business districts and won, and the TCLA went away with the collecting of lodging taxes. Well, hey, recently Merlin Vandervoort, who owns the Encore Lakeside Grill and Sky Bar and is a local developer, said, hey, our revenue receipts, our tax collecting is down in Lake of the Ozarks. We need the lodging tax back. And if you're curious, of that $1.9 million, where did it go to promote the Lake of the Ozarks? $58,000 went to print marketing, $125,000 went to billboard marketing, $550,000 went to digital and social media marketing, and $220,000 were spent on TV and radio. So it's also worth noting that not a penny is contributed to this by locals. And so although there were questions about how it was set up and how exactly the funds were utilized, I don't think this going away could be a great thing when you look at other areas. So I was interested, what other areas have a lodging or visitor tax? And I looked at total combined tax rates for areas that do. St. Louis, Missouri, 17.9% total tax rate with their lodging tax or visitor tax. Memphis, Tennessee, 18.8%. New York City, 14.75%, plus a flat rate of $3.50 per night for everyone who stays in the city. Kansas City, Missouri, 16.5%. Currently, the Tri-County has a tax percentage between 8.2 and 10.2 based on which area you're in. So my question is, does the Lake of the Ozarks need a lodging or a visitor tax? I think it's a good question. When you look at that kind of money, not paid by the locals, Chris, could be argued that using $1.9 million to market our area, our events, our way of life across the nation to the tune of $1.9 million may be beneficial. However, I'm not willing to say our tax receipts are down due to the loss of the lodging tax. But I want to find out what you guys feel about, does the lake need a tourism or a lodging tax that we haven't had now for about a year and a half? And if you're wondering about Branson, they institute a Branson City tourism tax of 4% but that's mainly used for infrastructure. The Tourism Community Enhancement District tax is another 1%, and that is used to market tourism and the city. And so I was interested to see what other areas were doing, and I've reached out to numerous people around the lake, and we'll kind of be pulling what they say and find out like what I'd say the experts, the elected officials, the people involved in development and have been on these committees before have to say.
And this is a hot button issue, man. I mean, you don't have many lukewarm people. People are either very much for it or very much against it, and people are going at each other's throats kind of at this point. It'd be interesting to figure that out and find some way that, kind of makes everybody happy if that's possible.
Yeah, we'll see as we look at that. I know there's efforts going on. There's groups that have been created. People are finding out. And as you said, people are on either one side very passionately for this or very adamantly against this. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see, but I wanted to know what our viewers had to say about that. So, hey, good news from MoDOT when it comes to fatalities on the roadway. If there is good news, it's trending downward. Yeah. This according to Danny Rager.
Statewide traffic fatality count should finish behind the year-end count from last year. So last year, 955 people lost their lives on Missouri roadways. This year, that's down about 6%. As of this week, 788 people have died across the state, in traffic accidents. 4 people died over the Thanksgiving holiday. So there's some positive news for you. Traffic deaths, fatalities are down this year from last year.
Yes, still have the month of December, but currently trending about 175 less. It's still more than we want to see, but a good reminder to drive safe, boat safe, brought to you by Price and Randall Injury Attorneys. Hey, wanted to give a shout out to our friends at the Branding Iron.
Yeah.
You see what they did?
I do. I'm not a pet guy, right? I am not an animal guy, so I don't get this.
All right, well then you get out of the way. Ozarks Cat and Canine posted on Facebook that their mini rescue dogs and cats returned to a meal like never before this Thanksgiving, thanks to the Branding Iron. And Sunrise Beach, Elena Self, owner, covered the cost for a warm, nutritious meal for every single animal at the shelter. And her and her staff prepared it and fed them. Really cool. Elena Self, just an amazing human being. So go support the Branding Iron. Great food, great service, and great salad.
And you're an animal lover, so you love this stuff, right?
I love this stuff. Yes.
Did you go? I'd be surprised if you didn't take your dogs.
No, I saw it on Facebook. I thought it was awesome. A reminder that Ozarks Cat and Canine Animal Shelter, go see them. They've got an awesome thrift store, and they're in Sunrise Beach. They have many incredible dogs and cats that would desperately love to find their forever home this holiday season. You can check out a new one every single week on our furry friends with my smoking hot wife hosting that segment.
There you go. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, an opportunity real quick to give back. Candyland gives you an opportunity to give gifts to kids in need this holiday season. For more than 40 years, the Lake Ozark Rotary Noon Club has carried on their beloved tradition of Candyland, Chris.
Yeah, how about this? And this year's Candyland event will be based at Porter's Ace Hardware in Osage Beach and Deerberg's Plaza. Tri-County YMCA is once again pick-up and drop-off location. So Candyland encourages generosity by collecting gift donations for local children. And last year, they provided gifts to more than 20,000 Lake area children. How great is that? So just an amazing program.
Really cool. Make sure you stop out one of those 2 locations, get those trees, and adopt a child this holiday season. Hey, don't forget, Lake TV High School basketball season is here. If you missed the opener Tuesday night, Eldon and Camdenton girls, great game, and all the high school coaches you got to talk with, you can catch those.
Yeah, and kudos to all the coaches. Almost all of them made it through the snowstorm on Monday to record our preseason look ahead, how the teams are doing, who their players are. You can see those coaches' shows all through the month of December. We'll rotate them all for you. 10 schools, local schools, and the coaches and everything. It's fantastic.
All right, got to give a shout out. Mid-Missouri Eagle Scout John Hayes, a member of Troop 21, completed his 140th merit badge just before his 18th birthday, making him just the 621st scout in the history of the U.S. to ever achieve earning all 140 scouting merit badges. Shout out to our guy John Hayes, a member of Troop 21 in Lake Ozark. And before we go, 1 Peter 2:9, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. That's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake.